understand how to obtain a power of attorney to buy a property in Brazil. The vast majority of foreign citizens buying properties in Brazil, they are going to do so through a power of attorney. And the reason is quite simple. There are several steps that are going to be needed from the buyer in order for the transaction to go through, right? You don't want to be traveling to Brazil every time something needs to be done. So if you have a power of attorney in place, you're going to have someone, ideally your lawyer, to represent you in every time someone needs something from you as a buyer, okay? Unfortunately, things in Brazil are complex, and the power of attorneys, they are even more complex than the average things you need to do in Brazil. It's, in a real estate transaction, it's probably one of the most time-consuming elements in the purchase of real estate by foreign citizens. For a power of attorney to be valid, one of the first things we do is like to go to the registration office in charge of the title transfer and ask them for a template. And then you may be asking, but listen, you are a lawyer, don't you know what they need? And of course we do, like we've been doing that for so many years. But at the end of the day, it's gonna be on the registration office to accept or not your power of attorney. So in order to get things straight from the get-go, we're gonna use a template from this registration office that's gonna be handling your closing. By doing that, we're gonna be increasing the chances exponentially that the power of attorney that we're gonna be getting for you is gonna be accepted during the closing. Right? So this is probably one of the most important tips. The second tip is there are several steps to be done in Brazil. Just the example I gave you, like you're gonna need a template for the registration office, but there are gonna be steps needed in your home country as well. Okay, so you get a template in Brazil, and then the power of attorney, and that's something that's difficult to understand to most people. Whenever you're doing the power of attorney, it gotta be in the language, in the official language of the country where you are located, okay? So if I am in the US, the power of attorney, I got the template from a Brazilian registration office, right? So it's in Portuguese. Now this should be translated into English for me to handle in the US. If I have in Portuguese and I do the authentication steps in the US and this document is in Portuguese, the Brazilian authority is not going to accept. And their reasoning is, listen, if you're authenticating this document in the US, the authority is authenticating the document. They're not going to understand what they're authenticating unless it is in English, right? It kind of makes sense. So get a template in Brazil, translate into English, and then you're going to have steps like notary public, county clerk, Department of State to get the apostille on these documents. And only after that you would ship those documents to Brazil for a sworn translator to translate the power of attorney with signatures, with stamps, with authentication steps and more, translated into Portuguese. And after that, you're going to have two sets. You're going to have the documents in English that you authenticate in the US, and you're going to have a second set. You're going to have the Portuguese translations done by a sworn translator. Then you're going to get these two sets, and you're going to take to a registration office that's specifically in charge of validating such documents. That's not the same registration office that gave you the template at the beginning. It's a different type of registration offices. And just as information for you, there are many different types of registration offices with different functions in Brazil, okay? But just to let you know that the power of attorney is not a simple, basic thing like if you're doing a power of attorney. If you are in the US and you're doing a power of attorney to be used in the US, it's so simple, right? You just get a template, go to the notary, get it, sign in the front of the notary stamps, and it's done. For you as a foreign citizen to buy a property in Brazil, in order for you to have a power of attorney done for that particular purpose, you're gonna go through many steps. And it's actually so complex that we have an entire section of our website dedicated exclusively to give you an overview of such steps. There are also 12 steps, in order for you to obtain a power of attorney to buy a property in Brazil. If you want to check this section, take a look in the comment section of this video that you're watching right now, and you're going to see a link, and then you can learn more about how to obtain a power of attorney valid in Brazil.